The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, has drawn the world's attention to the Middle East. The crimes of the extremists were strongly condemned by the international community. As a part of a broad coalition, Canada reaffirmed its position to fight against terrorism and decided to deploy members of the Canadian Armed Forces through Operation Impact. The development of the events in Iraq showcases Canada's rising determination to represent what its citizens believe in: freedom, justice, and human rights. June 2014. ISIL captured Iraq's second-largest city, Mosul, with a population of 1.5 million. They insisted that all non-Muslim inhabitants join them in their Islamic faith, or be fined, expelled from Mosul, or be killed. Following Mosul, ISIL continued to expand their path of destruction, gaining territory along the way. The international community condemned their terrorist acts and proclaimed it a serious threat to international peace and security. August 7, 2014, U.S. President Obama authorized their military to intervene in Iraq. He was aware that the international response must be timely in order to reduce ISIL's ability to launch continuous terrorist attacks. August 10, 2014, $5 million was committed by Canada to assist Iraqis that had been removed from their homes by ISIL. This was the beginning of the humanitarian assistance provided by the people of Canada. This generous act clearly demonstrated that helping the Iraqi people, and not tearing them apart, is the primary target of the Canadian mission in their country. August 28, 2014. Our first commitment included the delivery of military supplies. Our Royal Canadian Air Force plane, the CC-177 Globemaster III, delivered around 35,000 pounds of supplies. September 5, 2014. Prime Minister of Canada Stephen Harper confirmed that Canadian Armed Forces members had been deployed to Iraq to advise the government on more effective security responses to the ISIL threat. A total of 69 Canadian military advisors provided strategic and tactical advice to the Iraqi army and police. Canada became one of the largest forces of military advisors in Iraq, second only to the U.S. September 19, 2014. The U.S. government again asks Canada to step in, this time in the form of military supplies to help combat the growing insurgency. October 3, 2014. Stephen Harper again addressed the subject of Canada's further contributions to the war on ISIL in the House of Commons. He was confident that Canada was taking the right path towards better security in the country, as Canada and Canadians were portrayed as potential targets for future terrorist attacks by ISIL. October 7, 2014. The House of Commons held a debate on how the CAF should be involved in the fight against ISIL. The government declared that it would use airstrikes to limit ISIL's military operation capabilities and continue its delivery of aid and other non-combative efforts. The mission of the Canadian Armed Forces was set for another 6 months. October 28, 2014. AFT-1 air personnel and supplies arrived in Kuwait. After the announcement of increasing its role in Iraq, it was decided that Canada's attacks on ISIL will operate out of the airfield of Kuwait. October 30th, 2014. 1 CP-140 Aurora, 2 CF-188 Hornets, and 1 CC-150T Polaris would be part of what would be our first mission with the Middle East Stabilization Force, or MESF. The success of these ATF-1 missions confirmed the integration of Canadian air assets into the mission. November 2nd, 2014. The Hornets initiated their first combat airstrike on terrorist targets. Recently, in January 2015, Canadian Special Forces have clashed with ISIL groups by exchanging gunfire in Iraq. The first encounter between ISIL and Western troops. Canadians used sniper fire to neutralize the threat, and there were no Canadian injuries. This event would become the first real sign of the gravity of our operation in the Middle East. The Canadian deployment is due to close in April, unless a vote of Parliament extends the mission. The need for participation in the coalition against terrorism is undeniable. As America is our closest ally with a shared border, Canada has a commitment to support the U.S. when it comes to their foreign policy. It's uncertain what the future will bring for our role in Iraq, but it is certain that nothing is more important than the lives of our people.